Hello, on another episode of The Convo Guy. Regina, it's a pleasure having you.
Glad to be here.
This topic is going to be on rebranding. What is the process behind why someone would want to rebrand themselves?
From what I've seen two things. People either don't like the image that they've already presented as their brand, or they just want to add to it and gain either more influence, more following, or just overall have a different way of how they present to the world. So I've seen both of those instances where they either really don't like it or they want to add to it.
Have you ever had a moment yourself where you felt the need to start over?
I think several instances in my life. If are we talking specifically social media or in personal life? Like what brand are we
Oh,
referring to?
if there's different aspects, you can share with me the different aspects where you felt the need to start over. There's different levels of there's not one way of rebranding. There's different aspects.
So I guess we can talk the most popular or thought of one would be social media. I've informally rebranded myself on social media a few times because I grew up in the age of social media. Saw when it first was coming up and then stayed through it as a teenager, and then I'm on it now. So obviously, as I've grown with it, I've put different aspects of myself out there with it. Certain jokes, memes, videos, posts, comments, things that I would post now are not the same as I would as a teenager. Even things that I post now as a Christian, I wouldn't have done 6, 7 years ago, or even last year, because even as a Christian, I'm always growing. So I think I've rebranded myself informally over the years as I've grown to be a woman.
Is rebranding something that occurs naturally, or is it a reaction due to a negative experience?
It depends on the person and the
Okay.
situation.
Okay.
It can be natural.
How many times can someone rebrand themselves before it raises eyebrows? Is there a limitation before people just start questioning that you're the problem?
I think if you constantly rebrand yourself, people are always going to have questions about why you're doing it. But I've seen people rebrand themselves over and over and over again.
How many times?
I don't even know. I don't even think I can count them. But within a few years, let's say for every year in 5 years, you've rebranded yourself. So you become a new person in the public eye 5 times in the last 5 years. I've seen that before. And people, if you do it really well, I think you won't get as many questions as someone else who seems lost in doing it. So I know this might rub people the wrong way. This might encourage other people. But just for the sake of an example, Beyonce, right? She is known when I was growing up, she was R&B, hip hop, splash of pop, maybe, but mostly R&B. But then she started to rebrand herself with things like her Lemonade project. And she just, did a lot of country music. So within the past 15 to 20 years, she's rebranded herself over and over again while still remaining herself. So when she did it, it doesn't look bad and people don't have as many questions as, oh, what is she doing? She's lost or she doesn't know. People appreciate it, people love it. So I think that's one successful way that someone has rebranded themselves over and over again.
Do you feel like there's a difference between rebranding versus reinventing?
Yeah, because you can rebrand yourself and still be the same person even though you're rebranded. So I think with branding, that comes with who you present to the outside world, outside of your home, outside of your comfortable spaces, or wherever you hang out and feel the most at home. But with reinventing yourself, that often includes like your character change, um, not just how you show up in the world, but who you are as a person changes overall. So one can be more shallow than the other.
I think that's kind of similar to what I thought of it. I feel like rebranding is you yourself are a brand or you have a business. Either you are a brand or you have a business and you just want to change certain ways that people perceive that brand. Reinventing is you as a person, certain character traits has to go. Like, yeah, like your personality's not working out. You just got to reinvent yourself. The reinventing or rebranding process, is that something an individual has to do individually or does it require navigation through the support or through the support and the connection of others?
Especially depending on your personality type and your access to community and support resources, things like that. But I think it should definitely be a partnership between that person and their community to rebrand or reinvent or both. So yeah.
Give me an example where someone has to rebrand or reinvent themselves in a way where they have to do it solo. And then give me an example where that person needs a community of people or just a support system.
Mm, an instance where they have to rebrand by
Because
themselves.
me personally, I feel like to rebrand yourself, you low-key have to do it individually. And if you do need people around you, I say no more than like 5 people.
In the previous topic, you mentioned the relationship stay low. Do you want to use that or something else? Or if you want to use Beyonce again, I'll cut out my voice.
Okay. Okay, just repeat the question one more time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying the same thing.
Right.
Is the rebranding and reinventing process something that an individual could do solo, or does it require a support system? Oh no, not this. It's been a long day. Give me an example where someone can rebrand and reinvent themselves where they have to do it on their own. And give me an example where someone needs a support system.
I think in the initial phases of rebranding, it could be beneficial to start by yourself. So an example of that would be, let's say I'm trying to start a business, right? Or I already have a business and I want to rebrand it. Now I would have to ask myself those questions of, okay, what is it that's motivating me to rebrand? Are the things I want to add to it, subtract from it, and then list all of those things out and then come up with ideas of how I could rebrand it. And then the second step would be to bring that to my community or those who are closest to me who could pour into that. So that I am not doing anything by myself, but also not depending on a lot of people. Because if you rely on too many voices, you're just gonna get even more lost because everybody has their opinions. But if you have people who are close to you, they've known you, they've seen you, they understand your vision of what you're trying to put out there, then it's beneficial to get their opinion and not let it dictate everything that you do or put out there, but let it be a huge influence in that.
Which one would you prefer, mentoring someone that needs to rebrand or reinvent themselves, or mentoring someone that wants to rebrand or reinvent themselves?
Need versus want? Definitely want. Because I think that wanting to rebrand yourself is very different from needing, because you don't want to do more work than someone else, essentially. Especially in work like that, because if you outwork someone and you realize that they are not as dedicated, it can be very frustrating or discouraging. So I would rather mentor somebody who really wants to and doesn't just need to.
Okay. It'll make the job easier for that mentor that's gonna help organize it for them versus helping someone that needs it. They won't know that they needed, they'll start criticizing
Yep.
the effort that you're trying to
Don't give
pour
your
into them.
pearls to swine.
How about this? How far do you feel like you'll be willing to help someone that needs to rebrand? Like, what would you have to see in them for you to be like, all right, like I'm gonna go out my way to accomplish this for you, even if you don't see the long-term vision? Like, what would that individual mean to you?
But I think someone can know that they need to rebrand but still not want to.
Okay.
So if you don't want to do anything, I'm not helping you.
Mm.
Don't call me, don't ask me. Your desire, your willingness, effort, dedication has to be there. I'm not
Okay.
wasting my time and energy.
How long does it usually take to start seeing the impact of a rebrand or reinvention process?
That also depends on what's being rebranded and what you use to rebrand. So I've seen people who have nonprofits or they have businesses, they manage some type of organization or themselves, and they only do outreach or they only put their brand out in certain on certain mediums that are not really that reachable, and they don't mind that. So they'll put it only on Facebook, or they're only going to advertise their brand local. They're going to hand out flyers, and they're fine with that. I've seen other brands take off in their rebranding when they put stuff like TikTok on the schedule, and then they put things on Instagram, and they just really use popular social media presence to rebrand and get their brand up and running. So it really depends on what they choose to use and who they are as people and who they pull in to influence.
Do you lose your core beliefs and values when you're rebranding or reinventing yourself, or does that stay?
They can change,
Okay.
but not necessarily. I think you can still have your same values and value and core system, but yeah, I don't know if changing or losing those is a guarantee once you're rebranding, unless it was just those things weren't solid in the first place and you just end up losing yourself in the process.
But is it possible to lose yourself in order to achieve the purpose of changing how you're perceived?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Have you seen that personally? With your own eyes? Succeeded and their core values changed as well?
I think it's a story that's common to a lot of people. I'm trying to think if I've seen that personally in my life. If I have, it hasn't been very impactful on me, even though it might have been to someone else and their family or people who are closer to them. But I've seen that in the classroom, in the church, in governments. I've seen it. So yes, but no one really that close to me. I don't think.
Realistically, how much should people let go to rebrand and reinvent themselves?
How much people should let go of to rebrand themselves?
And ideally, how much should they let go?
Whatever feels like dead weight,
Okay.
let go of it. If it costs too much, or if you're losing yourself in the process or hurting other people in the process, let it go. It's not worth it.
During this journey, would it be considered healthy? During this journey, would it be considered healthy from being seen and ghost until you're ready to be seen?
Yeah, I think we need to be seen less often.
Okay. How do you filter who you choose to communicate with as you're on this journey?
As I'm on this journey to
Just
in life in general,
or just rebranding. Do you have to be super selective as to who you share certain information with?
definitely be honest about who would likely agree with you and who would disagree with you, and have them both be a part of the conversation, because you don't want to have a bunch of yes men around you if you're trying to rebrand yourself. So anything that you put out there is like, oh my gosh, go ahead, bro, you got it, you're doing great.
To find a good mix of
Yeah.
yes people
And
versus
then
people
people
that
are gonna ask you questions, and then people who are just gonna be like, "That's terrible." Also, make sure there are people who are not just going to completely shut it down or completely uplift it, but they're going to give their reason as to why it's really good to them or really bad to them. So they don't just ask questions, or they don't just give their comments or their praises or their thumbs down, but they say, I give the thumbs down because of this, or I have this question because I'm concerned about this. Get people who help you to critically think.
Okay. I never thought of it like that. Like you need a mix of people that are gonna be yeses because they're gonna support you. They're gonna keep you motivated to keep going, and you're gonna need people that are gonna criticize you, which is gonna make you think about how to better like mold the process on
Yep.
getting to that final. So let's say you just have a bunch of, let's say you share information with people who highly criticize you on your journey. How would that impact your end goal?
Like every single person that I go to criticizes me, or
Let's say out of 4 individuals you selectively share information with, 3 out of them are criticized.
I would have a lot of questions and slow down the process of rebranding.
Okay.
Because you don't want yes men, but if most of everybody around you is just like, then maybe you should think some things through a little bit more.
Let's say the individuals that you share information with criticized you heavily, but the rebranding process was successful. Would those individuals who criticize you, would they then be your core friends moving forward, even though they have personalities that aren't the best?
If they wanted to make it work, I've experienced that before, not in the same way, but similar situations where my friends have done things that I don't agree with, or that I've questioned, criticized, gave full thumbs down, 2 thumbs down, and we're still friends. That don't mean anything. And they may have been quite successful in the thing that I very much disagree with. But our relationship can still thrive. We all have to live our own lives here. I can only do but so much. I said my piece. And if it's not obviously hurting you, why can't we be friends still? I don't see an issue with that.
Let's talk about how long you would have to be ghost for before it's considered disrespectful. Could that be a thing? Like, can you go on this rebranding journey and letting your friends know about it, and they're even cool on you going on this journey on you being the best version of yourself? But let's say you went on this journey for quite some time. Is that viewed as disrespectful to those individuals you initially informed?
Is it disrespect?
The sense of
Rephrase it. What do you mean?
so basically, how is there a limitation as to how long you could rebrand yourself for?
I think if you're close and you're used to talking, communicating um in a certain way and for a certain amount of time and frequency, yeah. So if I'm understanding correctly, let's say my friend wants to rebrand, and for a year we don't talk to each other at all.
But that's the
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
That's 1 year. Like how long before it's like
So that also depends on the relationship that we have. By day one, yeah, that's disrespectful. But I have friends who I talk to once a year. Literally, we get on a Zoom call and that's it. But then I have other friends who we talk every day, every other day, every few months. So if I text you on August 1st, 2025, and you don't text me back till August 1st, 2026, and you know that we talk every other day, I'm going to say that's disrespectful, and we're going to have an issue.
if they went on a rebranding or reinvention phase, you'll snap if well not snap, but you'll get uncomfortable if they went about not talking to you for a week.
If I was trying to
I'm
reach
not
them,
criticizing. I'm just clarifying.
yeah. If I was trying to reach them, I would be annoyed. If it was like a year, if it was a month, I would be more than annoyed. But a year is just like, okay.
With me, I would
Yeah.
say 3 months.
3 months?
Yeah, 3 months.
Why 3? 90 days?
Because I feel like with men, I feel like if we go ghost, it's obviously for a reason. So I'm gonna try to respect that isolation phase.
Mm-hmm.
But if it gets to the point where it's like where I'm self-aware enough to know like your situation, and I'm starting to picture how I would go about it myself, even I would probably be like, okay, like if I was in your shoes, I would communicate with you after 2 months. Like you don't have to be doing this to me,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So I feel like after 3 months, it's like, all right. See, men are different, so
Mm-hmm.
I would have to.
Well, then those are two different questions then, because I think you can still respect a person in their situation and still feel how you feel.
Mhm.
So you asked me if I would feel disrespected. I 100% would, but still respect your space. It's your life. You can do what you want. If you need space, I'm fine with giving that. But also, I can't just say, well, that's not going to hurt me. It might hurt me or it might hurt somebody else. So, yeah, I think you can do both at the same time.
I agree. I agree. How do you keep yourself motivated if there is no support system and you have to rely on yourself during the rebranding journey?
I think looking at other people who you are trying to emulate in a sense, and that doesn't mean trying to get their same life, but if they're on if they're doing certain things that is your goal, certain things that they do with their money, with their time, the ways that they enjoy life, or the work that they do, if that's a goal of yours, looking at them, and if they're accessible, reaching out to them, reaching out to their support system, seeing where they got their resources and things like that. Because even if you don't have people who you're usually close to in your corner, then there's somebody in the world. There's billions of other people here. So you can just have to find them.
So ultimately, that's something that that person has to figure out. Almost like tough love, like they'll just have to. Because if you have no support system, there's basically like ultimately you would have to figure out how to rebrand yourself. If I'm making sense.
That could be.
Okay. Like that tough love aspect would apply in, like figure out what's more important, rebranding or reinventing yourself on how you're perceived by society, or rebranding or reinventing your personal traits to be the best version of yourself. What's more important, and what does society do out of the two?
You said personal traits and what else? Personal traits and
Personal traits, and I can read it again. What's more important, rebranding how you're perceived, or rebranding your rebranding or reinventing your personal traits to be the best version of yourself?
I think the personal traits to be the best
Okay.
version.
You think that's more important? Or do you think naturally society chooses?
Society chooses. If society chooses for you to be the best version of yourself or to please them,
Like what do us humans in society pick? I know you selected like the what's more important version, but what do we naturally select out of the two?
like rebranding versus reinventing. What two are you talking about?
Um, rebranding to be the best version of yourself versus.
I think society wants the society one.
Okay. Society will obviously choose the one.
That pleases them.
Yeah, that pleases. Yeah.
Right.
So I just wish I worded it without including society in there.
Okay.
But I apologize if you were gonna.
You're good. There will be certain things that Christians do on a personal level and in community at the church. And then for society, it would be offensive to them or something that they don't exactly want to be put out there. So it can look like a character change, being more loving or more kind, more merciful in a certain way. Let's say, yes, for mercy, for example, let's say a person converts to being Christian and then they are practicing being more merciful. And that themselves is not just a rebranding, but a reinventing of themselves and wanting to live their best lives. But certain instances in society, if they wanted to be merciful, then they would be like, oh no, that doesn't make sense. Y'all have to do what we want y'all to do, or nah, let them have it, get your lick back. And it's like, okay, which one is it? You can't just want things when you want things from Christians and then not. But yeah, that's just one example. That's the only thing I could think of, for real.
So society wants it to be cutthroat.
On their terms. Because I've seen a lot when, let's say, society is wanting Christians to be very nice or not saying anything about something. And then if they're not, if they are cutthroat, then it's like, well, I thought y'all are Christian. I thought y'all supposed to be nice. Why are you being like that? And then the opposite happens. If not cutthroat enough, then it's like, well, y'all don't know what justice is. Y'all don't know what it means to bring someone to be judged correctly and things like that. So on their terms, I think that's what happens a lot. I see it a lot, unfortunately.
What if someone wants to rebrand or reinvent themselves, but they don't have a sense of identity? Do you need identity? Is it required before you could intentionally evolve? Or can it be optional?
Yeah, I think everyone has identity. Whether or not you have a sense of it does affect your rebranding.
Okay.
Because if you don't know who you are or what you stand for, then it's kind of hard to put yourself out there and have a certain brand to represent you to the world if you don't even know who you are.
So if you don't know who you are, trying to rebrand yourself is going to be a grueling process.
It'll be more difficult than it needs to be.
Okay. Would you want to help someone that was in this situation where they didn't have an identity? And
Do that all the time.
You do that all the time? You mind giving me an example?
It's more so in small ways. I think both of my vocations have afforded me opportunities to help people find their identities and stick to them. So being a minister and being a social worker, therapist, I've done that everywhere with clients, with peers in ministry, peers in social work, and even in informal ways like small conversations. I'm the type of person, I like to ask questions and I don't mind asking questions. So that's something that I do a lot to help people see their identities and bring them out and stick to what they value and be solid in them.
When you're rebranding or reinventing yourself, is there a point where you have to act that role until it becomes second nature? Like, is there a form of acting that you have to do? Even if you have to like play it in your head?
I think there's a certain level of performance that you have to do. Whether I think it's more important that the performance is motivated by genuine change and genuine desire to put yourself out there in a certain way. So whether you're faking it or you're actually wanting to change, I think, yeah, you have to be genuine in doing that. So it's not like it's not something that holds you back.
When someone is successful at rebranding or reinventing themselves, were inequalities already present or did they have to unlock them to make that possible?
Say that one more time.
Yes, ma'am. When someone is successful at rebranding themselves, were inequalities already present or did they have to or did they have to acquire those personalities through the process? Did the process make them acquire those personalities, or was that something they already had in that the process just unlocked in them?
That depends on whether or not or how close the rebranding is to someone's actual private personal personality. So I've seen where people are, let's say for instance, completely shy, quiet in their real life, and then on social media they have a very big personality and presence. They talk a lot, they interact with people a lot, but in their everyday life, they don't talk to anybody. They don't like to interact with other people. So yeah, that's my question. That's my answer.
Peter Parker rebranded himself when he put on the black suit that was fused with Venom. Eventually, he realized that it interfered with who he was and he had to take it off. Is it possible to rebrand or reinvent yourself, yet question the new version of yourself to where you think about going back to your regular self?
Yeah, I think for a lot of people that's part of the process. I think with any big change, there's some point in the process where you're going to have a little bit of regret and you're going to look back on, oh my gosh, like it used to be this way. Things used to be easier back then, the way I used to do it. And it's just a matter of pushing through and making sure that you're still focused on the end goal, whatever you have outlined for it.
Do you feel like there's some people who've rebranded or reinvented themselves just to prove a point to people rather than doing it for a personal growth?
Yep.
Have you witnessed it? Like they got criticized heavily, decided to rebrand, it was successful.
I've seen this a lot. Actually, as a student, I've been a student my whole life, but a lot of times in school, whether it was elementary, high school, college, grad, people have had motivations to do better, to get back at someone, or to prove somebody wrong, when instead you could either just prove people who believe in you right, or just try to do things on your own for your own best to serve that. Yes, I've seen a lot of, I'll show them when it comes to advancing in their life or their career or school, whatever the case may be.
And once they made that point, did they revert back to who they were prior? Or did they just stick with that new role?
Some did, some didn't.
Oh, okay.
I want to say, yeah.
How is rebranding or reinventing different for men and women?
It depends on what the rebrand and reinventing is.
Oh, okay. Do we go about it different?
Again, that depends on what the rebranding and whatever the brand is.
Oh,
I
okay.
think that's what it depends on. And people's personalities are different.
Can I suggest like the CEOs, like with that first conversation, who would have a more difficult time rebranding?
I think the woman, she would have a harder time just because, well, first of all, the world hates women. So I think she's just gonna have a more difficult time trying to get her name back in a good space or whatever. I also think because to why, yes, he cheated, but also she knew he was married. So I think people are gonna have a huge problem. I'm assuming actually, I don't know if she, well, it's probably very obvious, that he's married. But if she did know that he's married, it's kind of hard to come back from that. Well, why are you messing with a married man?
But also,
Don't have any answer.
What if she says I'm in love? Emotions got too tight.
Okay.
so you feel like for the both of them, they would have to rebrand themselves in a very unique, similar format since they both started the affair having a significant other. So the rebranding phase would be kind of similar compared to, let's say one of them didn't have a significant other. In their situation, the process would be similar since they both had someone else that they kind of school.
Well,
So
I think also how she was in the society, like
okay,
for the woman, it's gonna be harder to burn.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
just in general, okay, because she has to like regain those feminine
Yep. And I mean,
qualities.
also because he's the CEO, he's been in this leadership. He has, although the world has seen him as a cheater and a man that's not honest and of integrity, it's still more likely that he'll be given another chance and be like, oh well, guys being guys, give him
That's
a
probably
pat on the back.
that's probably why he had that like ducking reaction.
That's what he's used to.
Yeah, it was just like a funny guy moment compared to her. Like she actually looked at the camera
Yeah.
and it's yeah.
She's
So
like my legacy.
Yeah.
What do you think?
oh yeah,
For
definitely.
male and without them, the CEOs, like for male and female.
I feel like um the woman is gonna be harder because man, we could always use the. But then this is me going back to the scenario, the scandal situation. He could always hit his family or his like friends with the I was just being a guy. And that's gonna be in his favor compared to the woman. Like she can't, like there's nothing she could use like to her defense because it's like naturally like when you think of a woman you think, you know, nice, friendly, feminine quality, you know, thinking long term about you and your legacy. So yeah, he could always play the short term card on I was being a guy. I didn't know. Like that could work more in his favor. So I guess to go back to the question, I feel like to tie that scandal back to um, the question of who would have it easier or who would have it harder. I think women would have the rebranding phase harder. Men would have it.
It's like with the woman caught in adultery story. They brought her before Jesus to be condemned and stoned, and the man was nowhere to be found. How do y'all know she was in adultery? Where was he? Wasn't there somebody else? It takes two to tango. So, same thing. But because of the society we're in, she has it harder. Same thing.
And was that something they did during that time too? Did they? I guess an immoral woman was she stoned to death during that time?
I believe it's both. Whoever's committing adultery.
Okay, men and women. Okay.
Now, I have to go back to my studies, but I think because a lot of men were in leadership, they could bend that rule or not apply it as heavily to men or other men. You know, not really let up for women. But I believe across the board, God was like, nobody should be committing adultery. God is still saying nobody should be committing adultery.
If the rebranding or reinvention process is deemed as successful, can it act as personalities that could be switched on and off?
Yeah. If the rebranding, especially if it's way different from your natural personality,
Okay.
it will require a lot of acting.
Lastly, is rebranding and reinvention a process on how much someone will go out their way to conform to society norms to be accepted, or is it a personal journey to acquire new qualities or unlock hidden qualities that can tap into that individual's potential?
That depends on what the motivation of the rebranding is.
Okay.
Because if you're doing it for material things like wealth, power, influence, notoriety, then it's the first one. But if it's for you and for your growth, then it's more personal.
Can you give me a percentage? Like, do you feel like 80% of people do it for what they feel like they want society to view them as versus 20% of people do it for them? If you have to give me a percentage, what would it be? Without even looking at the statistics, if there are statistics.
I would say majority do it for how you're perceived in society.
So it'll be greater than 50%.
Maybe over 7. Because I mean, also you can rebrand and or reinvent yourself and societal perception of you be something that you're really set on changing
Okay.
too.
What is something you feel like people who've rebranded or reinvented themselves have learned about human nature before and after? Because if it acts as on and off switches that they could just keep for life, what is something that they learn about human nature prior and something after?
That human nature is quite changeable, but it takes a lot of work, and there can always be at least a small inkling of your nature that comes out, whether you realize it or not. So someone can rebrand themselves to be entirely different than how they naturally are, but then you catch them on a random Tuesday doing something that is completely different and outside of their now rebranding, and the people who have been close to them already know, well, that's just everything else that y'all see, that's only part of what they newly put out there. But what they seem to have relapsed into or snapped back into, that's who they are. So, yeah.